Hey everyone, welcome to Meditation Mondays. Today I'm going to be covering a very powerful technique to detach ourselves from our overactive mind and inner chatter. Super powerful and super effective. Today I'm going to cover a powerful technique called unclutching. I myself learned this technique during one of my trips to India. It was taught to me by an enlightened master named Paramahamsa Nityananda. It has literally allowed me to move into the space between the thoughts. Now I know that might sound a little bit abstract or not make sense to many people, but what it literally means, and here's a fun statistic for you to actually understand how the mind works, is we human beings tend to think anywhere between 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts per day. That pretty much narrows down to about 48 thoughts per minute. Imagine thinking 48 thoughts per minute. That's almost one thought per second. Now, the idea with this unclutching technique is that it allows you to understand that none of your thoughts are correlated to the next one. They're all detached. One doesn't make sense to the next one. In 1 second, you might be thinking, what am I gonna have for lunch? While the next second you're thinking, where is my boyfriend taking me out to eat this Friday? And the next second you might be thinking, what was the conversation I had with my boss earlier? Each thought is separate from the next. This creates an overcrowded, chaotic space in our minds, which doesn't give us much space to really connect with others, let alone ourselves. A lot of people like to think of it as, or at least I like to think of it and was told to think of it as, bubbles in a fish tank. When you envision a bunch of bubbles in a fish tank, you're usually envisioning it as though the bubbles are making their way from the bottom of the fish tank up to the top of the fish tank. It gives us the idea that all of these bubbles are just one big attached group of bubbles. I like to think of it as the thoughts are like bubbles. The only thing that we don't realize is that there is space that exists between each of these bubbles, separating one bubble from the next. Similar to our thoughts, there is a space between each thought that separates one thought from the next. This space between the thoughts is what seekers, millions and millions and millions of seekers, have traveled to the far east to attain, the ability to stay in the space between the thoughts. This space between the thoughts can be thought of as the space of infinite bliss, ecstasy, nirvana, enlightenment, God, source. Call it what you will, but it's that space that cannot take you out of your center, out of your completion. And that is the space that we are going to work on in today's meditation. So the idea behind the unclutching meditation is it's much simpler than you're probably thinking. You're like, how did I get to the space between the thoughts? That sounds crazy. So it's much simpler than you're thinking. The idea is to simply be aware of your thoughts. You're going to envision your thoughts as though they are moving images or words on a screen. And you're simply the witness to your thoughts. So you're trying to separate you from your mind, literally. So you're going to see these thoughts in your head as images or words on a screen, and you're kind of like going to the movies of your mind. And every time a thought comes up, it can be as simple as, I'm hungry, or it can be large sentences or paragraphs. Anytime a thought arises in your mind, you just tell yourself, I unclutch. And you simply wait in that space between the thoughts until the next thought presents itself. Now, I want you to be aware, if you're one of those people, and there's many of them, that are sitting there and trying to prove to themselves that they're not thinking any thoughts, or they're beyond thinking thoughts, you might find yourself repeating in your head over and over again, I'm not thinking any thoughts, I'm not thinking any thoughts, I'm not thinking any thoughts. As though that does take skill, and I commend you for that. Rest assured, I'm not thinking any thoughts is a thought in itself. So anytime that thought, I'm not thinking any thoughts, presents itself, unclutch from that thought as well. So let's move right into it. I'm gonna ask you to simply close your eyes. Take in a real deep breath, starting from your solar plexus, your gut, not from your chest. Many of us breathe from our chest. It's a sign of stress, anxiety, and tension. So relax, breathe from your gut, and allow the breath to work its way up like filling a glass with water. It gets full from the bottom up. And when you're so full that you can't breathe in any more air, surprise yourself. Take in one more sip of air. And then hold your breath for 4, 3, 2, 1, and then exhale everything completely. Now I want you to become aware of your thoughts. Anytime a thought presents itself, simply say, I unclutch. Become so micro aware of your thoughts, from one-word thoughts to long sentences, to sensations you're feeling in your body, to emotions you're aware of or becoming aware of. Simply unclutch. And take 2 minutes to be in this unclutched space. If your mind begins to wander into outer space, you start daydreaming, that's fine. You're not here to judge your thoughts or overanalyze them. When your mind drifts, bring your awareness back to your thoughts, and again, unclutch. Continue to do this for another couple minutes. Okay, you can slowly, very slowly take in another deep breath of air. Full of air, fill yourself completely, and then exhale everything fully and completely. And I want to thank you so much for joining us for Meditation Mondays. This is one of those techniques that are very subtle, yet very profound. I recommend doing it for at least 5 minutes every single day. Within 21 days, you'll come to realize that you have a lot more control over your thoughts, a lot more control over your emotions, and you'll have a much stronger ability to detach yourself from the chaos of thinking 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts per minute. Now, of course, I'd love to hear from you. Comment below, let me know how you felt, what that meditation did for you. Were you able to enter into that unclutched space? Was it more difficult for you? Share with us your thoughts, and while you're here, go ahead and subscribe for more Meditation Mondays. See you next time. Namaste.
Do the same thing here. Where you're gonna do like an overlay, during some parts of it.
Yeah. Any part that I'm looking at the computer.
I could. We'll get really good sound. All right.
Maybe a little too much sound for that.